The airport woke up before the sun. Bright lights hummed over shining floors. Screens blinked with flight numbers. Coffee smelled warm, and wheels of suitcases clicked across the tiles. David Okoye walked with a calm step and a focused mind. He was a black CEO in a dark blue suit, simple tie, clean shoes, and a carry-on bag with a small company logo. He had an important meeting in another city. His assistant had booked the first flight so he could meet investors by lunchtime. He checked the time and smiled. He was early almost. If he walked straight to the gate, he would be fine. If he stopped, he might be tight. He usually moved like a river, steady and sure. Near a row of gray seats, he noticed an elderly woman struggling with a small rolling bag. The handle kept folding down. The bag wobbled and bumped into a chair. Her printed boarding pass bent at the corner, and her glasses slid down her nose. She looked around like she was searching for a sign but could not focus long enough to read it. David slowed. He could keep walking. He could reach the gate, sit down, check emails, and finish his investor notes. But the sight of the woman touched a soft place in him, the place his mother had shaped when he was a boy. He stopped. "Good morning," he said gently. "Are you heading to a flight?" She looked up with relief and a small laugh. "I am heading somewhere, yes," she said, lifting the pass. "But the gate moved on me, or maybe I moved on it. I'm not quite sure." Her voice was warm and light, but her hands trembled a little. David reached for the bag's handle and clicked it into place. "Let's find your gate together," he said. "May I check your pass?" She nodded and handed it over with both hands like it was something precious. He read the tiny print. "Gate D14. That's on the other side of this hall, but we can make it." They walked slowly, David keeping his pace gentle so she would not feel rushed. He asked if she wanted to stop for water. She shook her head. "I'm okay. I was promised a wheelchair at check-in, but maybe it got lost." He nodded with understanding and looked around for a staff member. At a kiosk, a gate agent with a tired face and a neat bun was answering two customers at once. David waited his turn and spoke in a calm voice. "Hi, could you check if a wheelchair was requested for this passenger for gate D14? The agent typed quickly, glanced at the woman, and gave a small frown. "It was requested, but it looks like it didn't get assigned. I'm sorry. I'll call again." David thanked her. The agent surprised him by saying, "You're kind to help. Many people just walk by." "Someone helped me once," he said, smiling. "I'm just paying it forward." He turned back to the woman. "We'll get you there." They moved past a bakery case full of fresh croissants and golden muffins. The woman pretended not to look, then laughed at herself. David said, "We can stop for tea after we reach the gate." That made her smile. She told him her name was Evelyn. She told him she used to travel a lot for work but had not flown much in recent years. "I wanted to see for myself if airports still felt like airports," she said, like she was testing the words. David did not quite understand, but he nodded. As they walked, an announcement filled the hall, "Final boarding for David's flight." His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. It was his assistant, Maya. He answered softly. "I'm here," he said. "Almost at my gate." Maya's voice was quick. "Investors are landing early. If you make this flight, you'll have an extra 30 minutes to settle in." He looked at Evelyn's careful steps and then at the time. "I might cut it close," he said honestly. "I'm helping a passenger get to D14. I'll do my best." Maya paused, then exhaled. "Okay. If not, we'll pivot. Text me." He thanked her and put the phone away. He did not tell Evelyn he was in a hurry. He did not want her to feel guilty. Close to D14, a wheelchair rolled up with a breathless attendant. I'm so sorry for the delay, the young man said. We had a mix-up. Evelyn waved it off kindly. You're here now. Thank you. David helped her sit and made sure her bag was tucked under the chair. He spoke with the gate agent at D14 about her seat. She prefers a window if possible, he said. The agent checked and nodded. We can do that. David thanked her and turned to go. At that moment, a final call echoed again for his flight, in another wing of the terminal. He could run. He could sprint and maybe slide through the gate as they closed the door. He looked at Evelyn. He chose to stay one more minute, just to make sure everything was truly set. Can I get you anything? He asked. Water? Tea? She said, tea would be lovely, but you look like a person with a schedule. He smiled. Everyone has a schedule. Not everyone has a chance to be kind. He jogged to the nearby cafe and returned with a simple paper cup and a lid. It's a little hot, he said, holding it carefully. She accepted it with both hands and said a soft thank you. When he looked up at the screen again, he saw the word he had hoped not to see, closed. He had missed his flight. He felt the tiny sting of it, like a small cut. But then he looked at Evelyn, safe and settled, and the sting faded to a calm warmth. He called Maya back. I missed it, he said. I'll rebook the next one. Maya's breath caught, but she steadied herself. Copy. I'll move the investor prep and adjust the lunch. We'll make it work. David pulled his carry-on closer and lowered himself into a seat near Evelyn. They watched the People River flow past together. He sipped water, she sipped tea. You lost time because of me, she said finally. He shook his head. I gave time. There's a difference. She studied his face. You sound like you had a good teacher. He laughed. My mother. She used to say, kindness is never late. It arrives exactly when it's needed. Evelyn looked at the gate where staff moved like a quiet team. Airports show who we are, she said. When people are tired, or hungry, or stressed, the truth comes out. David nodded. Yes. And the truth is easier to carry when someone helps you lift the heavy parts. A gate agent stepped over and spoke to David in a low voice. I heard you missed your flight helping her. There might be a seat on an earlier plane to your city through another connection. It's a tight one, but I can try. David smiled warmly. Thank you. Could you give it to that young father with the baby if he's also trying to make a connection? He pointed to a man bouncing a sleepy child near the window. The agent blinked, then smiled back. I'll check, she said. Evelyn watched, amused and curious. You do this often? David shrugged lightly. I try to do what I can. Some days I succeed. Some days I just carry my own bag without bumping anyone else. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Evelyn asked, what work do you do, Mr. Okoye, he said. David Okoye. My team makes simple software that helps small shops track the supplies they need. We keep it plain and honest. Nothing fancy. She tilted her head. Plain and honest is a rare luxury. He laughed. Sometimes it sells. She smiled at that. A pilot in uniform walked by, and she greeted him by first name in a gentle voice. The pilot blinked, surprised, then grinned, and said, Good morning, ma'am, and kept moving. David noticed, filed the moment away, and did not ask. A soft announcement said there would be a delay for Evelyn's flight due to a small weather system. No one liked delays. A few groans rose in the air. David stood and offered to find the attendant again to check on a timeline. He returned with clear information. Looks like 30 to 40 minutes. They'll update the board soon. Evelyn nodded. You speak to people nicely, she said, almost like a note to herself. David took it as a kind comment. People listen better when they're not bracing, he said. I don't like to make anyone brace. They walked to the customer service desk so David could rebook. The line was long but moved steadily. When he reached the counter, he explained calmly that he had missed his flight. The agent looked at his record and said, "Sir, there's a later direct flight with a middle seat. It arrives a bit after noon." He nodded. "That's fine. Thank you." She raised her eyebrows. "You don't want to try for business class?" He smiled. "Not today." She tapped and printed his new pass. "You're all set," she said, then lowered her voice. "I wish more people were like you." He waved the compliment away, but her words stayed with him like a small lantern in a long hall. Back at the gate, Evelyn had finished her tea. She sat with her hands folded over the cup, looking at the board, then at the staff, then at the passengers. She did not frown at the delay. She did not fuss over small things. She seemed to be taking in the whole picture. David sat down beside her again. "You're very observant," he said. She replied with a soft laugh. "Old habits." He nodded. He wanted to ask what those habits were, but he did not want to pry. Instead, he said, "If you like, I can wait with you until they board." She turned to him and studied his face for a moment, like she was weighing something. "I would like that," she said. They talked about simple subjects, favorite tea, old songs that sound like trains, a beautiful station in a small city that few people know. David noticed she asked many questions but never in a pushy way. He answered with short stories. He told her about his mother's porch, where neighbors could sit if they needed a quiet place after a long day. He told her how his company's first customer was a little store that sold paint and nails and the thrill of fixing your own chair. Evelyn listened with a bright, steady gaze. She asked about fairness and how it feels in real life. "Fairness feels like clear signs," he said. "Everyone can read them. No hidden doors." The boarding call for Evelyn's flight finally began. The wheelchair attendant came back, now with a gentle apology and a refreshed smile. David walked beside them to the door, where he handed the cup to a staff member and made sure her bag would be placed within easy reach. "Thank you for your time," he said. "Safe travels." Evelyn held his hand for a moment, warm and firm. "Thank you for yours," she said. "Let me make a call before you go." She pulled out her phone and dialed. Her voice changed the tiniest bit, like she had put on work glasses. "Hi. It's me," she said quietly. "I'm at D14. Could we review wheelchair assignments and gate flow this morning? Also the tea carts near the long wait areas." She paused to listen, then added, "Yes, operations and customer experience, both. Let's do it kindly." David heard the words but did not place them. He waved goodbye as the attendant rolled her down the jet bridge. He stood there for a second, watching the door close, then turned and began walking back toward the main hall. He felt lighter than when he had arrived. He had missed a flight, yes. But he had not missed the moment. He had chosen who he was, and that choice sat well inside his chest. His phone buzzed again. "Maya, you good?" He typed back, "I'm good." Then he looked once more at gate D14, where a few managers had quietly gathered near the counter after the call. He could not hear what they were saying. He only noticed that, for a busy airport, the area around that gate suddenly felt a little more peaceful, like a small promise had been made and kept. David checked the new boarding pass in his hand like a small promise he had made to himself. The later flight was in the afternoon with a middle seat. It was not perfect, but it was fine. He always told his team that a plan is a tool, not a cage. He put the pass into his jacket pocket and returned to the row of seats near gate D14. The morning rush still moved like a steady river. People rolled bags. Children held stuffed animals. Announcements rose and fell like waves on a calm shore. Evelyn sat with her hands folded over the empty paper cup, as if it still held warmth. When she saw him, her eyes brightened. "You rebooked?" she asked. He nodded. "All set." He did not say that he had chosen the middle seat. He did not need thanks for it. He sat beside her again and smiled. "Shall we keep each other company until you board?" She tilted her head in a way that looked both thoughtful and gentle. "Only if it's no trouble," she said. "Time is the kindest gift, and I don't want to spend years without asking." He laughed softly. "Time given is never wasted," he replied. "My mother used to say that." A small boy in a bright sweater dropped a toy car. It rolled under the chair and stopped by David's shoe. He bent, picked it up, and handed it back with a tiny racecar sound that made the boy grin. Evelyn observed everything with interest. "You move like a person who is not in a hurry even when you are," she said. "Is that practice or nature?" David considered the question. "Practice," he said. "Nature likes to hurry me. But I've learned that rushing doesn't always move me forward. Sometimes it only shakes the bag." A nearby staff member made an announcement about meal requests for a later flight and asked anyone with special needs to come forward. A woman at the end of the row looked worried and checked her papers again. "I pre-ordered a light meal," she told no one in particular. "I can't eat nuts." She spoke so softly that the announcement almost swallowed her words. David stood, offered a gentle smile, and said, "Let me ask for you." He walked to the counter, waited until the agent was free, and explained the concern. The agent checked the system, found the order, and added a bright sticker to the woman's boarding pass. When he returned, the woman's face had relaxed. "Thank you," she said. "I get nervous at airports." David nodded. "A clear answer is good medicine," he said. When he sat again, Evelyn looked at him in a way that felt like a quiet mirror. "Do you lead your company the way you move through a terminal?" she asked. "In small, helpful steps." He smiled. "I try," he said. "We build simple tools for small shops. They don't want big features. They want to know if the shelves will be full tomorrow. So we make it plain: what's low, what's due, what to order. We send clear messages at the right time. It's not magic. It's just care." She seemed pleased by the word. "Care," she repeated, as if testing the weight of it. "It is heavier than it looks, and it travels far." His phone buzzed again. The screen showed a board member's name. David excused himself and took the call a few steps away. The voice on the other end moved fast, like a person trying to hold 3 plates at once. "David, we heard you missed the flight. The investors are already at the hotel. They're not angry, but they're not smiling. Can you still make the lunch?" David kept his tone even. "I rebooked. I'll arrive a bit later. I chose to help someone this morning. I think it was the right choice." There was a pause. Then a slower breath. "Okay," the board member said. "Send me your updated time. We'll adjust the order of topics and start without you." David thanked him and returned to the seat, placing the phone face down, as if to put the worry to sleep. Evelyn did not ask what the call was about. She only asked, "Are you all right?" He nodded. "Yes," he said. "We'll simply do things in another order. Order can change. The work can still be good." She seemed to like that answer. She leaned back and watched a baggage cart rumble past the window like a toy train. "I used to travel a lot," she said. "There are days I miss the movement, and days I do not. Today I enjoy watching other people move." David smiled. "Observation is travel with no luggage," he said. "You still go somewhere?" A gate agent approached with careful steps and a kind expression. "Sir," she whispered to David, "I found a seat that connects through a different city." It lands close to your original time if everything lines up. I can hold it for 5 minutes. David looked down the hall. The young father with the sleepy baby now walked with a woman carrying a diaper bag. They looked tired in the gentle way that new parents look tired. Is there any chance they're on the same route? He asked. The agent checked quickly. They are, she said. But their tickets are later. David smiled. Could we offer it to them first? The agent's face warmed. We can, she said. Thank you. She walked over to the couple and spoke quietly. Their shoulders softened with relief. The baby blinked at David with big curious eyes, and the mother mouthed the words, "Thank you." He lifted his hand in a small wave and returned to sit. Evelyn watched this with a small laugh that sounded like a bell in a calm room. I think you just made their day, she said. Maybe their week. David shrugged lightly. They made their day by showing up, he said. I only helped move one piece. She thought for a moment. Many people feel that they must do a big thing to do a good thing, she said. But you do small good things and let them add up. He nodded. Small things are easier to repeat. Repeated kindness is a habit, and habits build places. They walked a little to stretch their legs. David pointed out the clear maps on the wall and said that simple signs are a gift. When signs are clear, he said, people argue less and smile more. Evelyn listened, looking from sign to sign with a measuring eye, like a craftsperson checking the fit of a join. She asked, what is one thing you would change in this terminal if you could? He said, I'd put a tea cart in the long wait areas, the way some libraries used to have water jugs near the door. It tells people, we thought of you. She nodded slowly as if tucking that idea somewhere safe. They returned to their seats. The weather delay stretched by a few more minutes, and the air filled with the soft sound of people settling into patience. To pass the time, David shared a simple story from his early career. I once had a manager who loved complex plans, he said. We were always behind because we spent our time managing the plan instead of doing the work. One day he drew a big map on the wall. I erased most of it and wrote, call 5 customers and ask what they need today. We spent 2 hours making calls. That day we did more good than we had done in a week. Evelyn smiled with her eyes. You cleaned the window so the light could come in, she said. A teenager walked by with a backpack full of travel pins. One pin fell and rolled under the row of seats like a tiny coin. David bent again, retrieved it, and handed it back. The teenager showed a shy smile. Thanks, he said. First time flying alone. I keep dropping things. David said, that's how you know you're moving. The boy laughed and walked on, a little straighter than before. Evelyn asked about David's team. He described them in simple, kind words, the engineer who loved checklists, the designer who noticed the way a hand reaches for a button, the support lead who wrote emails that felt like a neighbor knocking at your door. He did not brag. He sounded like a person naming friends at a picnic. We keep our tools clean, he said. People can tell when a tool is made with care. The same is true for a hallway or a waiting room. Care shows. A new announcement came from the speakers. Boarding would start in about 10 minutes. People stirred, and bags stood like small soldiers near their owner's feet. The wheelchair attendant rolled back with the same bright smile as before. We'll get you on first, ma'am, he said. Thank you for your patience. Evelyn thanked him with genuine warmth. Then she looked at David. When this flight boards, will you be all right getting to your own gate? He nodded. I will. And if I am not, I will ask a question. Questions are bridges, he added with a smile. A pilot in a crisp uniform walked by, followed by a co-pilot who checked a tablet. They both had the particular calm of people who carry many moving parts in their heads. The pilot glanced up, and his face lit up with recognition. Good morning, Miss Hart, he said. I didn't know you were in today. His voice was cheerful but respectful, like a person greeting a teacher outside the classroom. David looked from the pilot to Evelyn. She lifted a finger in a gentle greeting and replied softly, "Good morning, Jacob. Safe wings." The pilot nodded, said, "Always," and moved on. David felt a small spark behind his eyes. Miss Hart. He did not know many people who were called Miss with that kind of tone. He had met chairpersons, founders, and owners who were greeted that way, quiet but firm, with an edge of admiration. He did not look directly at her, but he felt the shape of a new understanding begin to draw itself in the space between them. He let it sit. He did not reach for it too fast. He did not want to guess wrong. He only smiled at the pilot's retreating figure and said, "You know many people here." Evelyn smiled back, the kind of smile that could belong to any gentle traveler in any terminal. "Airports are villages," she said. "If you walk them long enough, you learn the names of the streets." She did not explain more, and he did not press. He liked their quiet agreement, to share what mattered and let the rest arrive in its time. Boarding began with a smooth, practiced rhythm. The attendant guided Evelyn's wheelchair toward the jet bridge. David walked beside them to the door and made sure her bag was placed where she could reach it easily after landing. "Thank you for letting me share your morning," he said. "It made my day kinder." She held his hand again for a brief moment. "Thank you for making the morning kind," she said. "The day will remember." Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "If ever someone gives you a hard time for being gentle, tell them gentleness is the fastest path. It gets you to the right place." As the attendant rolled her forward, she glanced back. "And please, get some tea for yourself. The good kind." He laughed and promised. He watched until she disappeared down the jet bridge. The managers he had seen before, two in neat suits with simple name tags, gathered near the gate counter with a quiet, focused look. One of them made a brief call and used words David recognized from earlier: wheelchair assignments, gate flow, tea carts. He felt that calm spark again, brighter now. He stood there for a few heartbeats longer, then turned away, feeling light and steady. He had a later flight, a changed plan, and a morning that had already taught him something important: time given is not a loss. It is a seed. As he walked toward the main hall to find his own gate, he saw the young father with the baby wave at him from down the corridor, an easy, happy wave of someone whose day had just become simpler. David waved back, a smile rising without effort. Farther ahead, the pilot named Jacob disappeared through a staff door. David carried the little clues with him, like pebbles in a pocket that would later form a clear path. For now, he kept walking, unhurried, open to the next small good thing he could do. David reached his new gate with an easy walk and a steady breath. The screen showed a small yellow word: delayed. He did not frown. Delays were part of travel, like clouds in the sky. He found a seat near a charging station and slipped his phone cable into the outlet. The battery icon lit up like a tiny green leaf. Around him, the airport moved in soft patterns. A mother tied a shoelace. A couple shared a quiet laugh over a paper map. A janitor pushed a cart with careful hands and a gentle rhythm, keeping the floor clean and bright. Across from him, a student with a backpack full of keychains searched her pockets and sighed. Her charger cable was frayed at the end. It would not catch. David tapped his bag, found a spare, and held it out. "Do you want to try this one?" he asked. Her face lit up. "Really? Thank you." He nodded. "We all forget things," he said. "It's okay." She plugged it in and smiled when her phone woke up. "First time flying alone," she admitted. "I think I'm doing it wrong." David laughed softly. "You're doing it exactly right," he said. "You asked for help." A gate change came over the speakers, the kind that makes everyone stand and turn like birds in a flock. The new gate was a short walk away, but older travelers looked uncertain. David stood and pointed toward the new letter and number. "It's that way," he said to anyone who made eye contact. Down the hall, then left. An elderly couple with matching hats thanked him and followed the signs. The student packed her charger and fell in step. "I'll walk with you," David said. "I'm going, too." They reached the new gate together. The couple sat with relief. The student checked the big board and gave a thumbs up. He remembered Evelyn telling him to get the good kind of tea. The phrase made him smile. He went to a cafe and asked the barista which tea helped people feel calm on long days. She suggested a simple black tea with a slice of lemon. He brought it back to his seat and let the steam warm his face. He texted Maya, "New ETA 1240. I'll join the investor call by video from the car if needed." Maya replied with a quick plan, divided into short, clear steps. He liked her style. He sent back a thumbs up and a brief voice note for the board, "I'm on my way, a little late. I appreciate everyone's patience. We'll make the time useful." A flight attendant from another gate passed by and did a double take. It was the same agent who had helped with Evelyn's wheelchair earlier. "You again," she said with a grin. "Still saving the day?" David shook his head. "Just saving my tea," he said, and they both laughed. She looked at the student and gave her a friendly nod. "First time flying?" The student blushed. "Is it that obvious?" The attendant said, "Only because you're brave enough to ask questions." Then she moved on, spreading the easy calm of a person who knows the way. Boarding started slowly, as it often does when weather has turned the morning into a puzzle. People lined up with polite patience. David waited until the line thinned. Near the end, a young man realized his seat was far from his grandmother's. The two looked at their boarding passes, confused. "We can swap seats," David said to the man in the aisle seat beside him. "Would you mind moving back so they can sit together?" The man checked his ticket and shrugged. "Sure." They swapped without fuss. The grandmother whispered thank you, and David touched his heart, as if to say, "You're welcome," without words. On the plane, David slid into his new seat, now even closer to the middle than before. He did not mind. He liked the feeling that he was part of a shared ride. The cabin crew moved with quiet skill, stowing bags, answering questions, and smiling with practiced kindness. A boy across the aisle looked out the window as trucks drove past like toys. "Do you think we'll fly above the clouds?" he asked his mother. "Always," David said gently, as if clouds were steps on a staircase. The plane pushed back and rolled toward the runway. The engines hummed like a calm promise. As they lifted into the sky, the city fell away in neat squares and soft colors. The clouds rose to meet them, then opened like a white door to a bright blue room. The boy gasped. The mother smiled. A few rows ahead, a woman with silver hair wore a simple scarf and held her hands in her lap with the stillness of a person who had traveled many times. For a second, David thought of Evelyn, and he felt a quiet warmth move through him like sunlight. The seat belt sign stayed on longer than usual. Light bumps tapped the plane like small knocks. A few passengers grew tense. David remembered his mother's porch and the way she taught him to breathe when storms rattled the roof. He turned to the nervous man beside him and said, "Try this. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. Like you're counting steps." They breathed together. After a minute, the man's shoulders softened. "Thanks," he said. "I don't like surprises." David smiled. "Me neither. But I like when they end well." When the bumps faded, the crew handed out water. David asked for an extra cup and passed it to the student from the gate who now sat 2 rows back. The flight attendant noticed and nodded in a way that said she had seen this kind of kindness before and hoped to see it again. She came back with a tiny pack of cookies. "You dropped these earlier," she said playfully, though he had not. He laughed and shared them with the man beside him. "Teamwork," he said. Midway through the flight, a soft chime sounded, and the captain spoke. His voice was calm and a little warm, like someone who had just looked out at the sky and liked what he saw. "Good morning, folks. We've found a smooth path now, and we should be on time. I just want to thank you all for your patience. Days like this remind us that travel is a team sport. A passenger reminded us of that this morning. He gave up a seat so a family could sit together, and he's helping nervous flyers breathe easy." A gentle ripple of claps moved through the cabin. David felt his cheeks warm. He pressed a hand toward his chest, not to claim the praise, but to hold the moment steady so it would not fly away too fast. The rest of the flight passed like a simple story told well. People read. People slept. People remembered how to sit quietly in a shared space. The boy by the window asked if clouds had names, and the mother said, "They do," and then they made up their own names anyway. The student finished a message to her parents and looked relieved. The grandmother and grandson held hands and watched the bright world outside. As the plane began its descent, the captain spoke again with clear instructions. The crew collected cups and smiled a little wider, the way people do when a plan comes together after a twist. The wheels touched the runway with a soft sigh, like a tire meeting a warm road. People clapped again, small and polite. The seat belt light went off. Phones buzzed as they always do when a plane lands, like 100 tiny bees waking up at the same time. David stood when it was his turn, not before. He reached up and pulled down an overhead bag for a person who could not reach it easily. "Thank you," they said. "Of course," he replied. He checked his pocket for his boarding pass, not because he needed it anymore but because the habit comforted him. Then he stepped into the aisle with the calm of a person walking down a familiar path. At the jet bridge, the air felt cooler, like a new room. A small group of managers stood together near the door, tidy and focused. One held a bouquet of simple flowers tied with a ribbon. They were not showy flowers. They were the kind you give when you know someone prefers quiet. The managers spoke to each other in low tones. David noticed the same words he had heard earlier: assignments, gate flow, tea carts. The same pattern of care. Passengers moved around the group like water around stones. Then one manager looked toward the plane door with a feeling on his face that said the person he was waiting for had arrived. David watched without staring. He stepped aside to let people pass. From the cabin, an elderly woman in a neat scarf stepped out in a wheelchair. She looked rested and kind. For a heartbeat, David thought it might be Evelyn. He leaned, then stopped himself. Not every kind, silver-haired traveler is the same person. He smiled at his own eagerness and adjusted his bag strap. The managers bowed their heads in greeting to the woman in the wheelchair, then one stepped forward and spoke to the attendant. "We are ready for her," he said. But then he glanced past the wheelchair, back into the plane, and his eyes softened further. A second wheelchair followed. This time, David recognized the shape of the hands, the calm of the eyes, the gentle way she lifted her chin to greet the new heir. Evelyn. She had the same small smile as in the morning, the one that could weather a delay without growing heavy. No one shouted. No cameras flashed. The managers did not clap. They simply stood with respect and warmth, like a family at a front door. The man with the flowers stepped forward and waited. He did not assume. He waited for her to nod. She did, and he placed the bouquet on her lap as if handing her a secret he was honored to carry for a moment. "Welcome, ma'am," he said softly. "We've moved the meeting to a quiet room." Evelyn thanked him and then looked past the group for the smallest second, as if searching the stream of people for one face. Her eyes found David. The corners of her mouth lifted in a knowing way. She gave a nod so small that someone might miss it if they blinked. He dipped his head in return, the kind of greeting that belongs to friends and also to polite strangers. He did not step toward her or call out. He did not want to draw any eyes. Two attendants adjusted the footrests on her chair. The managers made space like waves opening for a boat. As they began to roll her forward, a voice came from behind. It was the pilot who had called her Miss Hart in the morning, the same calm pilot with the sure gait. "We have your notes, ma'am," he said softly. "We'll work on the wheelchair timing and the tea carts today." She replied, kindly, and gave his sleeve a light touch that felt like a thank you and a blessing at the same time. David stood very still, like a person listening to a quiet song. He did not know the full story, but the outline was clear enough to read. Evelyn was not only a traveler. She was someone who could change things. He thought of the way she watched the morning unfold, the way she used the word care like it had weight, the way people who worked here spoke to her with calm respect. He felt again that small spark behind his eyes, and this time it grew into a warm idea. He had met someone whose work touched many people without noise. The student from earlier passed by and whispered, "Is she famous?" David said, "She is important," and left it at that. The student nodded as if that answered everything. The boy with the window seat shuffled past with his mother and said, "We flew above the clouds," as if telling a secret. David nodded, too. Always. At the end of the jet bridge, a staff member checked David's name against a list. "Mr. Okoye?" she asked. He blinked. "Yes." She smiled in a friendly, professional way. "There's a quiet space if you need to make a call before you head out. It's just down the hall. Someone arranged it for you." David looked toward the hall, then back toward the managers and the flowers and the gentle order moving with Evelyn. He did not ask who had arranged it. He could guess. "Thank you," he said simply. He walked toward the quiet room with even steps, his carry-on rolling behind him like a faithful dog. The door opened to soft chairs, a small table, and a kettle with tea bags lined up in a neat row. On a little card, someone had written, "The good kind." He laughed under his breath and felt the morning settle inside him like a book placed carefully back on a shelf. He made a cup, called Maya, and joined the investor call with a steady voice. Before he left the room, he looked out through the glass to the hallway. He caught a last glimpse of Evelyn as her small group turned a corner. The bouquet ribbon trailed like a thin line of sunrise. He turned back to his bag, to his phone, to his day, and thought, travel is a test and a teacher. Today, it had taught him that gentle choices travel farther than any plane. And it had given him one more quiet promise for tomorrow. David ended the investor call in the quiet room and let the last words settle. The kettle clicked off by itself, and the room went still. On the little card beside the tea, the words "the good kind" looked almost like a friendly wink. He smiled and put the card in his pocket, not as a souvenir but as a promise to keep this feeling close, calm, clear, and gentle. A soft knock came at the door. A woman in a neat blazer stepped in with a professional smile that did not hide its warmth. "Mr. Okoye?" she asked. "Yes," he said, standing. "Miss Hart would like to see you, if you have a few minutes." David felt a quiet click inside his mind, as if two pieces finally fit. "Of course," he said. He followed her through a calm hallway with framed photos of airplanes and teams at work. The photos showed people helping people, a hand steadying a stroller at a step, a pilot kneeling to talk to a child, a mechanic pointing to a part with care. The hallway opened into a small lounge. It was simple and bright, with plants in white pots and chairs that looked soft but strong. In the center sat Evelyn, the elderly woman from the morning, in a comfortable armchair. The bouquet from the jet bridge rested on a low table, its ribbon folded neatly. She looked up when David entered and smiled in the same gentle way she had smiled before any titles were spoken. "Thank you for coming," she said. The manager who had escorted him withdrew, leaving the door half open. David took a careful seat across from her. He waited. He let her lead. "I should introduce myself properly," she said, hands folded. My name is Evelyn Hart. Most people here call me Miss Hart. I am the chairwoman and the principal owner of this airline. Her voice was simple, like she was telling him the time. No drama. No show. Just fact. David breathed in once, slow and steady. He nodded. I thought you were someone important, he said with a small smile. But I see now that you are someone responsible. Her eyes brightened. Responsible, she repeated. That is my favorite word for this work. She thanked him for the morning. You missed a flight to help an older traveler, she said. You offered a seat to a family. You explained signs. You calmed nerves in the air. You showed the kind of leadership I want this company to practice every day. Quiet leadership. Useful leadership. Not proud. Just present. David looked at his hands and then back up. I tried to do the right thing, he said. It felt natural. Evelyn nodded. Natural for you, perhaps. But not common enough. We can help make it common. She reached to the side and lifted a small notebook with a cloth cover. A pen was tucked into the spine. She opened to a page where she had written short lines in a neat hand. She let him see it. He read, wheelchair timing check assignments by hour. Gate flow less bunching near doors. Clear ask me pins. T-carts near long wait zones. Parent seats with plugs. Honest delay boards. Gentle tone training. Help first desk. These are notes from today, she said. I take notes on every trip, but today had special lessons for me. She looked at him directly. The lessons were not about speed. They were about tone. You helped without making anyone feel small. You gave time as if it were a common gift. David pointed to the line that said help first desk. I like this one, he said. It is simple and strong. She smiled. It was your idea, she replied. You said kindness is easier to repeat when the tools are simple. We can build a counter where trained staff solve problems quickly, wheelchairs, seat moves, clear maps, tea or water, and real updates. No special favor energy. Just service. She asked him a question in the same calm tone she had used all morning. If you ran an airline for one day, what small changes would you try first? David thought for a moment, not long. Clear signs at eye level, he said. Plain language on screens. For example, instead of operational adjustment, say, we need 10 more minutes to check a safety detail. People can handle truth when it is clean. How can I help you right now? Script for tense moments, so staff have a steady first line. Tea carts and water near long waits. A bright sticker system for meal needs and seat swaps. A simple app button labeled I need a wheelchair that shows a live countdown so an older traveler knows someone is coming. And one more thing, let families and elderly travelers board in a calm window before group numbers start, without making them feel like a delay. It saves time in the end. Evelyn wrote short words beside each point. She did not rush. Plain truth, she said as she wrote. Calm window. Live countdown. Bright stickers. Help script. She looked up. You think in tools, she said. Not slogans. David nodded. Tools make slogans true, he said. Without tools, a slogan is only a sign on a wall. She leaned back, studying him the way a builder studies a foundation. I did not start as owner, she said quietly. I started at a ticket counter many years ago. I learned that a kind face can move a line faster than a strict voice. I learned that water fixes more moods than rules. And I learned that if you help the person in front of you, 2 people behind them will relax. The whole room changes. She nodded toward his pocket. That card you took, the good kind, please keep it. It is a small reminder that care can be designed. He touched the card and felt its smooth edge. I will keep it, he said. Thank you. Evelyn set the notebook down and folded her hands again. I have two thoughts to share, she said. One is about today. One is about tomorrow. He listened. Today, she continued, I want to say this, the way you moved through the morning, that is our standard. Not because you helped me. Because you helped someone. I will share the story with our teams, not your name and not your face, just the lesson. A traveler missed a flight to show care, and the day went better for many people because of that choice. Tomorrow, she said, I want to ask you for a partnership. Your company builds simple tools for small shops. Many of our routes carry cargo for small businesses that need steady timing. When a delay happens, a shop owner often gets surprised at the last minute. I would like to test a program with you, we call it Steady Hands. We share a small stream of real-time delay signals with your system. Your system tells the shop owner plain truth with options. Your boxes will arrive at 6 p.m., not 2 p.m. Would you like us to send your customer a note? Would you like a same-day shuttle from the airport? Would you like a voucher for future shipping? You design the plain words. We handle the moving parts. We do it in 3 cities first. If it works, we grow it. David felt his mind light up with practical images. A simple screen. 3 buttons. A timer. A map. A clear message that did not hide the problem but offered a hand. Yes, he said. We can make that. We like plain words. We like quick choices. And we like making people feel safe. Evelyn's smile deepened, but she kept the moment grounded. Good, she said. We will put our teams together this week to talk. No press. No big show. We will see if it helps people. If it helps, we will say so with results. She paused and lifted the bouquet ribbon between her fingers, as if feeling its texture told her something about time. There is one more thing, she added. Your investors. I moved your call room and gave you the quiet space. I did not do that as a favor. I did it as a reply. You gave up a flight to help a person. I gave you 30 minutes of calm to help your work. That is a fair trade. She looked amused and kind all at once. But if you ever need a short introduction to someone who can open a door for your company because it will help many small shops, you may let me know. I cannot promise a yes. I can promise a fair hearing. David sat with the offer and then spoke in the same calm way he had used all day. Thank you, he said. I accept the test. I accept the fairness. And if there is a door to open one day, I will ask for a hearing, not a push. They both laughed quietly at that. A manager stepped to the door and looked in. Miss Hart, he said softly, operations has begun the wheelchair timing check and the T-card pilot at D gates. Training drafted a help first script from your notes. Would you like to review now or after lunch? Evelyn looked to David. Would you like to walk with us for 10 minutes and see the start? She asked. Only if you have time. I have time, David said. Time given is never wasted, he added, echoing his mother's line. She smiled as if she already knew that sentence by heart. They walked the terminal together at an easy pace. It felt different now, not because of titles but because of intention. A staff member pinned a small badge to her vest that said, "Ask me, happy to help." A young worker poured hot water into a teapot at a fold-out cart and set out paper cups with steady hands. A supervisor tested a new line on the delay board, "We need 10 more minutes to check a safety detail. Thank you for your patience." The words looked plain and honest against the bright screen. Evelyn asked travelers if the signs made sense. She asked a janitor if the cart was easy to push in a crowd. She asked a new hire how the first week felt. She listened more than she spoke and wrote down what people said in short lines. David watched and added small, steady suggestions. Move the cart 6 steps away from the boarding door so lines would not tangle, Tape a simple arrow on the floor near the elevators, add a second charger strip near the help first desk so two phones could fill at once. They paused at a large window where planes rolled and turned in right angles like careful dancers. The light was soft. People moved around them, calm and busy. Evelyn looked out for a long breath and then spoke without looking away. "There is a story people like to tell about airlines," she said. "They say airplanes are made of metal and money and loud engines. But here is my story, an airline is made of moments. If we care for the moments, the big things work better." David followed her gaze. "Moments are tools too," he said. "You can shape them." She finally turned back to him. "There will be a simple letter for you," she said. "It will confirm the pilot program and name a team on each side. It will also include a small note from me. 2 parts. Part 1, thank you for the morning. Part 2, please keep the spotlight on the work, not on yourself." She smiled again, playful and kind. "I have learned that good work goes farther when it is not hungry for praise." "I can live with that," David said. "I prefer it." They walked back to the lounge. At the door, she offered her hand. He took it, steady and warm. "Safe travels, Mr. Okoye," she said. "Thank you for making our day clear." He nodded. "Safe work, Miss Hart," he said. "Thank you for making our day kind." As he stepped away, a small group of staff gathered with fresh notes and bright eyes. The hallway buzzed with plans, but not the stressful kind. This buzz sounded like a kitchen before dinner, where everyone knows their role and the meal will be warm. David felt the same lightness he had felt in the morning when he chose to stay at gate D14. Only now, the feeling had shape. It had tools. It had a path. He glanced down at the card in his pocket again. The good kind. He thought of customers in small shops, of boxes that would arrive on time or with honest updates, of simple buttons and clear words. He thought of new signs at eye level and a quiet cart with tea. He thought of a traveler who would sit at a help first desk one day and sigh with relief because help had arrived without fuss. He walked toward his own gate, unhurried as always. His later flight would get him there. His day would still be full. But now, the day held a new promise: tomorrow could be kinder because of today. And that promise felt like the softest, strongest thing he could carry. Weeks moved the way airport walkways move, steady, without drama, always carrying people forward. David returned home the same evening, a little tired but peaceful inside. The next morning, he went to his office early. The sun made long golden lines on his desk. He placed the small card that said "the good kind" beside his keyboard like a quiet compass. Then he opened his laptop and called his team. He kept the meeting simple. He told them about a new idea called Steady Hands. He did not talk about titles or who owned what. He talked about people. "A shop owner waits for boxes," he said. "A delay can hurt their day. We will help them before the worry grows." His engineer, Priya, asked for clear targets. His designer, Luis, asked for real words from real people. His support lead, Hannah, asked how to write messages that feel like a neighbor's voice. David smiled. "Exactly," he said. "Plain targets, plain words, warm tone." They mapped the pilot in 3 cities. The plan was not big or loud. It was small and careful, like hands picking up a glass. When the airline sent a signal that said delay, David's system would prepare 3 simple options. Would you like a clear text to your customer? Would you like to move pickup to 6 p.m.? Would you like a small voucher credit for your next shipment? The most important part was the language. No blame. No sharp words. Only calm truth and kind choices. At lunch, Maya brought tea to his desk and teased him about becoming a tea expert. "The good kind," she said, raising her cup. He laughed. He thanked her for holding the day together at the airport. She waved it off. "You did the difficult part," she said. "You chose patience." He shook his head. "We both did." By the end of the week, the airline's team and David's team had a joint call. Faces popped up in small squares, each one a new thread in the same fabric. A training lead shared the help first script. It began with, "How can I help you right now?" Everyone liked the line. It was short, kind, and focused on the person in front of you. An operations manager showed the new signs in testing: black letters, friendly spacing, clear arrows. A customer experience lead explained where the T-carts would park during long waits so lines would not tangle. Nobody tried to sound impressive. They tried to be useful. 2 weeks later, Steady Hands went live in City 1. The first alert came on a rainy afternoon. A small plant shop called Little Green Room was waiting for a box of tiny pots and soil. The flight would land 2 hours late. The system sent a calm message: "Your boxes will arrive at 6 p.m., not 4 p.m. Would you like us to text your waiting customer list with a friendly note? Would you like us to move pickup to 6:30 p.m.? Would you like a small credit for your next shipment?" The shop owner, a woman named Amara, tapped 2 buttons. She chose the customer text and the 6:30 pickup. She added a short line: "We're sorry for the wait. Tea is on us at pickup." When the boxes came, she was ready. No panic. No rush. The customers smiled when they arrived, and some bought extra plants just because the air felt kind. The airline team watched the data with care. The help first desk answered simple problems fast: wheelchair timing, seat swaps, which gate, confusion, and meal stickers. The T-carts made a difference in the hour when people usually grew tense. A quiet cup in a paper hand was like a reset button. Tension dropped. Voices softened. One attendant said, "It's amazing. Water and tea fix more than I thought." The operations lead smiled and said, "We are in the people-moving business. The people are more important than the planes." City 2 started a week later. A hardware shop needed screws and hinges for a morning job. A delay would have ruined the contract. The alert came at dawn. The system offered a same-day shuttle from the airport to the shop. The owner, Mr. Lee, pressed the button. A white van arrived with the boxes at 9 a.m. The work started on time. He wrote a short thank you note in the app: "This saved my day." It was not a big story, but it was a true one, and it mattered to the people in it. City 3 followed. A bakery expected pastry boxes for a weekend fair. The weather turned. Flights blended and shifted like puzzle pieces. The bakery got an honest message: "We need more time to check a safety detail." New arrival, 7:15 p.m. The baker, Nadia, chose the voucher option and sent a friendly text to her customers: "We will open 1 hour later tomorrow, but the cinnamon rolls will still be warm." People came anyway. They smiled at the sign: "Thank you for your patience." Some said the rolls tasted even better because they knew the truth. Inside the airline, small things kept improving. The Ask Me pins made it easier to find help without shouting. The bright meal stickers helped avoid mistakes. The calm window for elderly travelers and families made boarding smoother. It was not more time, it was better time. The wheelchairs arrived closer to when they were needed. The new line on the delay board: "We need 10 more minutes to check a safety detail," became normal. People did not cheer when they saw it, but they did not groan. They nodded, like 2 friends agreeing to meet a little later. On a quiet afternoon, David's phone buzzed with a short message from an unknown number: "A traveler just asked for a wheelchair using the new button." Live countdown showed 6 minutes. He said, "Thank you for telling me the truth about time." Operations D Gates. David read it twice. He forwarded it to his team with one line: "Tools turn care into something you can hold." One evening near the end of the month, David visited his mother. She lived in a small house with a neat porch and plants that looked happy even in the heat. She made him rice and a simple stew. They ate without hurry. He told her the whole story, from the morning at the airport to the soft ribbon on the bouquet to the help first desk and the three-city pilot. She listened with the same patience she had taught him long ago. When he finished, she smiled and put her hand over his. "Kindness is never late," she said. "It arrives exactly when it's needed." He laughed. "You always say that." She nodded. "Because it is always true." They sat on the porch as the sky turned the color of tea with milk. A neighbor waved. A train sounded far away. The world felt large and close at the same time. A few days later, the investors visited David's office. They walked through the space, looked at the simple dashboards, and read a few customer notes on a whiteboard. There were no flashy posters. Just honest charts, short sentences, and a small shelf with tea bags. One investor asked, "Why no press release?" David answered, "Because we are still testing. We want results first, words later." The investor looked at Maya and asked what she thought. She said, "We like to build small, useful things and then make them strong." The investors nodded. The meeting felt easy, like a well-packed bag that closes on the first try. On a Friday, David flew again through the same airport. He did not say he was coming. He wanted to move like any traveler and see what the day showed him. Near the D gates, he found the help first desk. It was not big. It did not have glowing lights. It had a clear sign, 2 comm staff members, a charger strip, a stack of printed maps, and a small jar with tea bags. He watched for a while. A man asked where to find a quiet corner to make a call. They pointed. A young woman asked if she could sit near a plug. They offered a chair. An older couple asked if the gate numbers had changed. The staff checked and circled the right one with a pen. No one raised a voice. No one sighed in a heavy way. The desk worked like a hand held out in a crowd. He walked farther and saw a new sign on a pillar at eye level, "Questions? Ask me." A staff member wearing the pin stood under the sign, smiling. People approached, asked, and left with the light look of someone carrying one less worry. On a small monitor, a message rolled by, "We need 10 more minutes to check a safety detail. Thank you for your patience." He watched people read it and simply adjust their bags. It felt like a small miracle made of honest words. At a cafe, the barista recognized him from earlier weeks. "Back again?" she asked. "Back again," he said. "The good kind, please." She laughed and prepared the tea with a slice of lemon. He took a seat by the window and thought about how quiet success often looks like nothing special. A clean floor. A clear sign. A kind sentence. A cup of tea offered before anyone asks. The work hides inside these details like a soft heartbeat. As he sipped, the pilot named Jacob walked by in uniform. He glanced over, then stopped with a friendly nod. "You were with Miss Hart that day, yes?" he asked. "I was near the door," David said. "Nothing more." Jacob smiled. "Sometimes being near the door is everything." He lowered his voice just a bit. "She liked your ideas. We like them too." The comm window took the heat out of boarding. "It's better for everyone." David thanked him and wished him safe wings. The pilot moved on with the easy stride of someone who knows where he is going. A message pinged on David's phone. It was from Evelyn. It was short, the way a good message often is, "Thank you for your tools. They help." He typed back, "Thank you for your care. It leads." He did not add anything about press or future plans. They both already knew the plan: keep building small, useful things, keep the tone kind, keep the people first. Before his flight, David walked past a wall with photos of the airline's history. Old planes. New planes. Team smiling in black and white and then in color. In the newest photo, there was a simple wooden cart with a kettle and cups. A little card sat beside it, for long waits tea, the good kind. He smiled and kept walking. On board, he found his seat and helped a person lift a bag into the overhead. He sat between two travelers who were strangers to each other. They became less strange as the plane rose. He shared a pack of cookies. The person on the left told a short story about a job interview. The person on the right talked about a grandmother who loved to sit near windows. The plane hummed. The clouds opened like a white door again. He thought of the first morning at gate D14, of the small choices that changed the shape of a day. He did not think about reward. He did not think about praise. He thought about moments, and how they build places, and how places build habits, and how habits build lives. If you care for one moment, you make room for another moment to be kind. When he landed, he walked slowly, the way he always did. He sent a short note to his team, "Good work. Thank you for keeping it simple and human." He sent a short note to Maya, "We owe our calm to your calm." He sent a message to his mother, "Landed safe. Time given was not wasted." She replied with a heart and the line she loved, "Kindness is never late." Outside, the air smelled like new rain. Cars moved, people called out, and the city did what cities do, carry 1,000 small stories at once. David felt ready for the next one. He did not know what it would be. He only knew how he would walk through it, unhurried, helpful, honest, and kind. That night, as he placed his keys in a bowl and turned off the light, his eyes rested on the small card he had set on his desk that morning, "The good kind." He smiled in the dark. He understood now that this was not only about tea. It was about tone. It was about the way you hold a door, read a sign, answer a question, change a plan, or give up a seat. It was about the way you use your time. In travel and in life, your true boarding pass is your character. When you help someone, the journey changes for both of you. And sometimes, without any noise, the world becomes a little more clear, a little more gentle, and a lot more possible.